And we are live. That's right, we are live today, guys. So I'll wait a little bit here for you guys to come in here. So we're gonna be talking about a couple things, and we're gonna doing some changes up with it with the channel coming up here. So let's see. We'll wait a little, a little bit more time here. I think we waited a good amount of time here, so we're just gonna get into it. So first things first, how's everyone doing out there? I know some of you are in here, some of you just coming in and whatnot. But we got a few changes coming up with the channel, and they're good changes. I think they're kind of cool changes, and I wanted to bring them to you guys, let you know what's going on, and I want to do a special session that we're going to be doing tonight. So first things first, guys, is we're going to start with some updates. So how's it going, David? Good to see you. So we're going to do a little bit of update here. So you're going to start seeing a lot more videos. You're probably going to seeing maybe about 3 videos a week is what you're going to be seeing when it comes to the channel. But I want to do something special. I really want to do something a little bit special for you guys because you guys have been with me for a long time. We're coming up on 25,000 subscribers here. What we're going to do is, basically speaking, we're going to do like I might do just a regular video during the beginning of the week. At the end of every week, I'm going to do what's called a question and answer session. So I'm going to be going over comments for the week. I do go over a lot of comments in my videos and whatnot, guys. I go through a lot of the comments. I read stuff over. I comment back and stuff like that. But what we're going to be doing is at the end of every week, probably a Friday night, I'll probably be going live around like 7 p.m. or something like that Eastern time. And I'm going to pull up probably about 5 questions or topics that have come up in my comments throughout that week. And I'm going to be addressing them and talking about them and stuff like that. And that same note on those videos, what I'm doing, we're going to be doing that here tonight too. It's going to be kind of an open question and answer session. So we will see where this goes. So I hope you guys can all hear me all right. We got 10 people in here, it looks like. We only have 1 thumbs up. I hope we get 10 thumbs up since we have 10 people in here. But so we are just going to get straight into it. So I got my little handy dandy notebook here. And we're going to do some questions that I've been answering throughout the last couple weeks actually. You bring these up. So how's everyone doing out there? You guys good? Like, there we go. We're getting 6 thumbs up now. We got 10 people in here. We're getting 6 thumbs up. Now, give you a little heads up down here. I am in my basement. It's a ridiculously hot day out here, and I have no air conditioning down here, so I might get a little bit sweaty. But we are good to go when it comes down to that. Now, first thing we're going to do is I'm going to address some of these questions that I've been getting. And first thing I'm going to do is I like some of these names, so I might butcher your YouTube names here because, well, it's YouTube names. You never know. So we're going to go with first question and go with a guy named Ironhead, guy, whatever it is, Ironhead. So he was saying, he asked me a quick question. Basically, he says, I can't decide between this 1911 or a double stack in 10 millimeter. When he says this 1911, he's talking about my Rock Island Armory 1911 A1 FS, the Cerakoted Brown version of it. So he can't decide between my specific 1911 or getting a double stack in 10 millimeter. So I'm going to throw up a couple, I'm going to give you a couple explanations here. First things first is when someone's out there buying a new gun, a couple things that you want to look for is what is the plan? All right, what is the plan for that firearm, that specific firearm? Is it going to be home defense? Is it going to be range time? Is it going to be competition? What's the specific plan for that? It's going to be something you're going to carry on a daily basis. I can't just tell you choose one or the other. I don't know the specific situation when it comes down to it. So when I go and get a gun, like I said, when I got my 1911, I wanted a 1911 because I love 1911s. I wanted it in 45 ACP because it's something that I plan on carrying on a daily basis. Armscore, be right back. Armscore is pretty good. Like I said, they basically make Rock Island Armory. Their ammo, I haven't used much of their ammo, but they're good. But anyway, Rock Island Armory is, I chose a Rock Island Armory because I was on a budget. So I wanted a good quality firearm that was on a budget. So I went to Rock Island Armory and I got a 45 ACP because that's the caliber, specific caliber that I wanted. I got the full size 5-inch 1911 because when it comes down to a 1911, that's my preferred size. Some people like the compact size. Some people like the carry sizes. So I can't, it all depends on personal preference. So what you got to decide there, Iron, is what's your plan for it? Is it just going to be sitting in the safe? Is it going to be something you're going to be carrying on your hip? Is it something you're going to be taking out in the woods? In that case, if it's like a woods gun or something like that. What's up, Matt? What's up, James? If I was taking that out in the woods or something like that, I would highly recommend you go with the double stack 10 millimeter. All right, especially if you're going to be out in the woods or desert or wherever you are, because a 10 millimeter is a very powerful, heavy duty penetrating round, and it works good in wild animal situations. So when it comes down to Mr. Ironhead, is I love these names. Comes down to Mr. Ironhead is like it comes down to what the purpose of what you want it for. Like me, when I have a 1911, I want it in a 45. That's just how I like my 1911s. I like full size, and that just comes down to my experience with 1911s. I like the full size better than any size. What's up, Brown? Good to see you, Matt. So, basically speaking, I would go. It depends on the situation, man. I don't know the situation you're in. So if you want to go with a 10 millimeter, heck, yeah, it's just a fun caliber. But a couple other things you want to take, or you want to think about too, is the price of ammo right now. Price of ammo right now, and out here in Connecticut, it's kind of ridiculous. But I can find more 45 ACP than I can 9 millimeter. It's still, the prices are still really high out there. So for out here, for me, lately I've been buying 45 ACP. I can't find much, and when I do find 9 millimeters, usually just carry ammo, and it's ridiculous. I got 3 boxes of Federal 124 grain plus P because that's all that was literally all the place had, and I got those 3 boxes for $94, boxes of 20. When it comes to 45, that's it. For me, I find it more readily available out there, especially in Full Metal Jacket. And when it comes to ammo shortages and stuff like that, Full Metal Jacket, in my experience, will work just great for 45. Work absolutely fine for 45, and there's just more available out there. So for me personally, right now, if I was gonna go and get another 1911, it would probably be a 45 ACP, and that's just not just because I like 45. That's just because of all the background that goes into it and the prices and everything else that's available out there right now. So that's for you, Mr. Ironhead. Now, there's the next one. So now these questions, and they're all questions. Some of these are ridiculous comments that I think it's a good idea to address. So this one is from Brandon Rasco. Brandon Rasco. So he says, I was talking about a 1911 video, go figure. He says, ask me how to practice or how much practice it takes to point a modern day striker fired pistol or revolver at center mass at 3 yards and pull the trigger. Okay, I'll ask you that. How much practice does it take for you to be able to pull a modern day striker fired pistol or revolver out and point it at a center mass target 3 yards away and be able to hit the target? So how much practice do you need? Do you have your answer? Because I certainly do have an answer when it comes down to that. And that is this. And I responded to it in the comments as well. Just because you have a gun doesn't mean you know how to use it right. Just because you have a gun doesn't mean you know state and federal laws regarding that gun. Just because you have a gun in a holster doesn't mean you can safely pull it from the holster without hurting yourself or someone else. Just because you have a gun doesn't make you proficient with the gun. Just because you have a gun doesn't mean you're going to pick it up, pull it out of the holster, and have a round in the chamber because you don't know how to properly use it. Just because you have a gun, if you pull it out and you pull it onto the target and you have a bad grip and you get more meat in the slide than you do anything else, that's a problem. Now, when it comes to hitting a target at 3 yards away, I will tell you firsthand experience when I was in the Marine Corps and in all my students, what I've had in my classes I've done, I've seen people miss targets 3 to 7 yards away because they jerked the trigger so hard that the muzzle went down and they literally either hit the very bottom of the paper or they hit the ground, right? I have seen it. And I've seen one flinch so bad that at 10 yard, she actually flinched so bad and it literally hit the ground about 2 feet closer to us than it was to the target. So to my response to you, ask me how much practice it really takes, and I could just buy a gun and pull it out of a holster and put it on the target. If you think you can do it, by all means, just keep in mind there's a lot of consequences that can happen if you don't have the proper training, know proper laws, or know how to use it properly. All right, so I'm just going to throw that one out there, and you guys can go ahead and have a little discussion there too when it comes down to that. Now, when it comes to training, You don't need to go out and get all these heavy duty fancy, operator courses. Hold on. As you know, I live in Conway, New Jersey, you want 45 cap, where ACP, something like Springfield TRP. So I'm looking for Armscore. Yeah, that's a good way to go. Armscore Rock Island, they're really good. I mean, Rock Island is, I only have one 1911, and it's a Rock Island. That's what I think of Rock Islands. All right, that they are very good guns. And I actually have a comment, I'm actually going to be addressing a comment on this when it comes down to that. They're a good gun. You can't go wrong with the Armscore. You can't. But just like every 1911, you got to maintain it. You have to break it in, and you got to get used to it, and you know how to use it properly. But anyway, when it comes down to Brandon Rasco, is basically what I was talking about. Is even if you get a basic level of training, even if it's about the laws of your local area, the state laws, the federal laws, even if you have a basic understanding of those laws, that can save you a trip to the jail. Because you pulled a gun at a bad time. I've seen videos. There was these probably some of you have seen it too. I saw it in my Facebook feed. It was like one of those streetcar racing things that were going on, and there was an argument that broke out, and a dude decided to pull out a gun and pull it on someone else just because they got into an argument. And I guess that gives you justification to pull a gun out because you don't like what someone says. He obviously didn't have much training, if any training whatsoever. Just in general, when you're carrying guns, I've seen one of the biggest mistakes I've seen when it comes to people carrying guns, especially concealed carry people, is they don't have a whole lot of training or understanding of how to concealed carry a gun. So they don't have a good holster for it, or they do the classic Hollywood carry, which is in small their back and backwards. So if you're right-handed, it would be in a left-hand holster backwards, and that's one of the most horrible methods of carrying because the second you bend over, whatever shirt you has is going to lift up, and it's going to show that firearm. And if you have it on the spine of your back, there has been cases. I remember there's a case years ago. I talked about it in one of my videos. Actually, I did a video on small in the back. He was chasing a suspect, and he had a backup pistol in the small of his back, and it was in the middle of the night, and he was chasing him, and the suspect just jumped into one area, and out of habit he just jumped. He didn't realize it was like a 10 or 15 foot fall. I remember how far it was, and he fell, and he seriously damaged his spine because he landed on the small of his back, and that just happened to be where the firearm was. So I wouldn't recommend carrying it in the small of your back. And simple stuff like that, if you understand the basic stuff when it comes to concealed carry and stuff like that, with very basic training when it comes to concealed carry, you're going to be a lot more effective if you have to use that firearm in any type of situation. So Mr. Brandon Rasco, I know you're kind of being a jerk in that comment, but that's how it is, man. Just because you own a gun doesn't mean you know how to use it, right? That's how it is. So get some training, even if it's basics training that you gotta just get some sort of training when it goes down to it. All right. Now, if you have a friend that knows how to use the gun, that has some training, go to them, talk to them. They can help you out. Gnat. I think it was a gnat or something down my throat. All right, so we're moving on to the next one. So it's funny. I get most of these questions I get these days are 1911 based questions or Rock Island based questions. Oh, they're doing really good, Gene. This is still my favorite 1911. Still love that gun, and I actually carry it a lot in the summer. I actually carry it a lot in general, but in the summer I carry it a lot more than usual. So the next question that I'll be taking is from Nicholas Matamoros. I think that's how it's said. So Nicholas Matamoros. I'm also just looking here, guys. There's still 20 people in here, and I only see 12 thumbs up. So it'd be nice if you got 20 thumbs up with those 20 people. But Mr. Nicholas Matamoros, I think that's how you say it. He said this. He was actually on one of my 1911 videos. I'm planning on getting the RIA 9mm competition, or 9mm, or 9, the RIA 9mm 1911 for competition, and I'm curious, what holster do you like to use? What's up, Joe? How's it going? I shoot at 1911 few times. Hey, that's good to go, man. Okay, so Nicholas, so I don't have any competition experience when it comes to holsters. So I know like some competitions like IDPA and stuff like that. I'm a member of IDPA. I just never had a chance to actually get out to a competition because it's hard to find one out here. I know that there's some rules to the holsters that you can have for competition, so you have to look into the rule books to find out specifics because there's holsters you can use for cheating. Some have to be the right height; they can't have too much of a cut in the front of it and stuff like that. So you'll have to look for something like that. And there's a lot of good holster makers out there. There's a ton of holster makers out there that use it. Now, when it comes down to me, how's it going, Mike? Good to see you. When it comes down to me, I primarily carry my 1911 concealed. I primarily carry my 1911 concealed. And when I carry it concealed, I use a what's called a Masters leather holster. I got it on eBay. It's actually a really nice leather holster, really thin. I love 1911 carry for summers specifically because it's such a thin firearm that it literally disappears on your hip when you're carrying it with a slight cant. It literally disappears on your hip, and I conceal that better than I conceal anything minus my snubby. So for me, I use inside the waistband that. So hold on, Daniel Holmes 944 Rocket Island. And for good concealed carry holster, I really praise your recommendation. Like I said, for me, for my concealed carry, I use the Masters leather inside the waistband holster. All right, that's the name of it. I actually did a video on it. If you scroll through my videos, you'll see it on the Masters leather. It's a 1911 in that. It's a really good holster. I like it. It's very comfortable to use. Now, that's when it comes to 1911, that's what I carry. But I'm going back to this question here from Nicholas. Now, what I use for an outside the waistband holster is when it comes to the 1911, I use this is actually from a friend of mine from Arsenal Artistry. He made this for me a long time ago. I use a pancake outside the waistband holster like this. It's got a really nice curve to it, so it hugs it really close to your body. This is what I would use for outside the waistband. Kydex is a really good way to go, especially for competition, because leather kind of rubs on the gun a little bit. It really does rub on the gun a little bit, so there can be a smoother. They're usually when you have a good quality like outside the waistband Kydex holster, it usually locks the gun down somehow. There's like a little click that's in it. Once you clear that, it comes out holster very easily. Usually clears that pretty easily. When it comes down to like a leather holster, it doesn't slide in and out of the holster as quickly, and actually wears out the slide of the gun a little bit more. So I wouldn't recommend an outside the waistband leather for competition, but once again, I've never shot competition, so if anyone says something else, you do that. So I'd recommend going out and finding a good pancake holster for the specific model that you have. And if you see the cant that I have on this, I like having a slight cant on my 1911s when it comes to a full-size pistol. All right? So that's my response to that. Next to that, I really don't have a whole lot of competition experience. And for me, that's usually inside the waistband and a leather holster that I usually use from the 1911. All right. So that was for Mr. Nicholas Matamoros. All right. Now, there's two more topics I want to cover that have been coming up. And these aren't specific questions. These are just like general that people have come out with. And there's some real big haters out there, that's for sure. But anyway, so we're going to be talking about the last video I did was a live video when I talked about what my opinion on the whole Dakota Myers incident was, talking about people wearing full kits and stuff like that. A lot of people watched my video and I got a lot of pretty angry comments on that video. And that tells me one thing. You guys didn't pay attention to the video, because that was not an anti-Second Amendment video. That wasn't me telling you to not wear a kit. That wasn't me telling you that at all. If you actually paid attention to that video, you would remember that it was actually me talking about influencers, internet influencers who have deals with gear company that actually specifically push that gear. But during their videos are pretty much entertainment only. They have no tactics in their videos whatsoever, or their tactics are based off of competition, and they're claiming those are defensive tactics, and those are not defensive tactics at all. That video was me saying that I do not agree with these influencers out there pushing that you have to get this gear, you have to wear this, you have to train like this on a daily basis, when their videos aren't actual defensive videos, and it's not even close to tactical videos or tactical training videos. That's what that video was about. So there's a couple topics that came in that, variety of comments that came from that. The first one was, they said it is unconstitutional about the whole gear, because when it comes to the Second Amendment, they obviously don't know. Thanks, Dante. They don't know where I stand with the Second Amendment. They must not have been with this channel very long, or they didn't look through the video very much. But it is not unconstitutional. Well, let's see, the best way to say it is, if you know what the Second Amendment is about, the Second Amendment is not about hunting. The Second Amendment is not about anything like that. What the Second Amendment is about being a Minuteman. Being a Minuteman, basically what that means is, in a minute's notice, you need to be able to grab your rifle and your kit and be able to respond to protect your neighbors. That was when it was created. They didn't have much law enforcement. That's what it was about, is be able to grab it in a moment's notice and go out there and use it in a moment's notice. It's also for, oh, excuse me, man, it's also for about protecting the country. All right, it's about protecting the country from foreign invaders and protecting the country for tyrants. So I highly recommend you go out there and train with your kit, especially if you want to wear a kit. I recommend it. Go out there, go train with your kit. However, what I said in that specific video is don't go watching these people that tell you that they're being tactical and they're showing you all this cool gear and they're pushing specific gear and they're showing you what they consider tactics. And at the end of the day, what their tactics are not actual defensive or combat tactics. That's competition shooting or for entertainment only tactics. That will not save your life. One of the comments said that's like saying watching Mel Gibson and Lethal Weapon was or learning or you try to be like Mel Gibson and Lethal Weapon, like rolling and spinning and stuff like that. And every time you pull the trigger, you jerk it like crazy. That's like taking that as actual legitimate training. All right, that's what I was talking about. When it does get the Second Amendment, that hits his nail on the head. It's not that they don't get the Second Amendment; it's that they don't like it. All right, they don't like it. They are scared of guns and they don't believe evil exists in the world. That's what that's about. But I don't get into politics that much, guys. I don't like getting into politics. All right, so I'm not gonna start going down that road. That's not what this channel is about. I am very pro Second Amendment. I'm pro gear, pro guns and stuff like that. But I'm seriously pro legitimate training, legitimate defense. All right. Learn how to use the stuff. Go to places that can teach you how to use the stuff. Most civilians in your average world, they aren't walking around with a full kit at work while they're carrying their gun. And if something bad happens at a last resort, they can't just run out to their truck, grab their full kit, and then get their gun and go. Usually you're stuck with what's on your body, and you need to learn how to train with what's on your body before you start moving on to the kit. And if you do want to go onto the kit, make sure the actual instructor that you're learning from knows what he's talking about, that he isn't just preaching everything that he said seen on YouTube and stuff like that out there. So it is not unconstitutional at all when it comes to the gear. It was nothing about the anti-Second Amendment and that. It was basically saying get legitimate training and don't trust what you see on YouTube when it comes to these tactical operators who have no legitimate training in combat or defense. And competition shooting at a fancy online academy, what they've went to, doesn't actually go, or doesn't actually, what do you say, it doesn't compute when it comes to defensive training. All right, they're completely different thing. Competition and defense are different. Competition is speed, beating a clock. Defense is not at all. Defense is slow, smooth as fast, distance and angles. That's what defense is about. All right, so, and then another one that people said, another hate is like, they say only, they said, yeah, they're being jackasses in the video. And they said, oh, what you said was that only the government should train in the kit. Do I even need to get into that, guys? You obviously didn't pay attention to the video, all right? Their standards of society are dirt low. In their eyes, it should be as easy as possible to live in society with as little responsibility. Yeah, there you go. That's a good one to go. So if you paid attention to that video, is that's where I stand on that, guys. Provide a link to your training classes. Steve, most of my classes are usually when we do classes is actually basic pistol classes, what I teach people. And I've also done private lessons with people who just get guns and they're not sure how to use them. I teach them how to use them effectively, get it in and out of the holster and get out there. That's where my training is. I don't have a fancy school or anything like that. And with the ammo shortage, I try to get classes when I can. I just can't get many classes in now. So I don't have a link to a training academy or anything like that. But over the last couple of years, I've taught over 300 people when it comes to training. I've gotten a lot of permits out here in the state of Connecticut. All right. So now we're moving on to the to that specific video, because there was a lot of haters in that video. But after watching what they said is, oh, you're going to go down the rabbit hole? Oh, no, Matt. Yeah, I've talked about that, man. Don't get stuck down the rabbit hole. You'll never be able to come back out for fresh air. All right, so that's where I stand on that. I'm not going to go into that. Now, the last topic that I wanted to talk about, guys, is cheap 1911s versus expensive 1911s. So this actually comes up a lot. This comes up a lot in a lot of the comments of the videos, and I've answered the best I can over the years. There's a lot of people that believe out there, kind of old school 1911 guys. You got to understand that 1911s back in the day were all hand fitted. Every single one back, for decades and decades, 34 years were hand fitted, 100 years were hand fitted and everything was good. And then they started getting a little bit worse in what was like the 80s. The quality started going down a little bit. And then in the 90s, more companies came out and every company was out producing 1911s, and they're mass producing them and just throwing them in parts, and they weren't fitting them properly. And because of it, that, you know, a lot of people came to the conclusion that if you want to go out and buy a 1911, that you're an idiot if you buy anything that's under $1,000 or under $2,000. You just shouldn't be spending that much, you know, that little money in a 1911. I talk what I want to talk about when it comes to this topic. I think Hickok at 45 did a great video on this. He actually had a high dollar top shelf 1911, like custom built 1911, next to, I believe it was Rock Island. You know, just like my 1911 is next to a Rock Island Armory, and he shot them. Neither one of them failed. Neither one of them had issues, if I remember the video. Not a single one had issues. The only difference is he could tell in between the two guns was that one had a big name. The edges were a little bit more smoother. The trigger wasn't that much smoother. It was still a really good trigger. Both were really good triggers. It was just the fits were just a little bit better and stuff like that too. And one was like $3,000 and the other was like a $600, if I remember, it was like a $600 or $700 Rock Island Armory in 1911. And the question is, what I get all the time is, why would anyone want to spend, you know, or it's not quite a question, it's just people, you know, stating what they believe. If you're going to buy them in 1911, you shouldn't buy anything that's under $1,500 or something like that. Well, I want to address a couple things when it comes down to that. One, not everybody has an unlimited budget. And a 1911 is a great gun, a great shooter, a great collector. They're just good guns to have. But not everyone has an endless budget where they just go out and buy a $3,000, $2,000 1911. All right. So basically, when it comes down to modern day 1911s that are built, when you're buying a high-end 1911 like Wilson Combat or, you know, something like that, you're getting a lot out of it. You're having, basically you have one person that sits down with that specific gun, that they fits everything perfectly, they file it down, they make sure it's fitting right. They built it. One person usually works with that firearm. When you go to like Rock Island, they use old Colt equipment. I'm not just talking about Rock Island. My experience with the cheaper 1911s is with Rock Island Armory, if you call them cheaper. Mine was like just under $700, give or take. Basically, they use old Colt machinery. It looks identical to a Colt in an old Colt back to back. Looks almost identical to a Colt back to back. And from the moment I shot it, I had limited to no malfunctions when it came to it. Was the fit perfect? No, the fit was not absolutely perfect. Did it have every perfect feature that I want? Did it have the smoothest edges on it? No, it didn't have the smoothest edges on it. But what it did do is just about every single time I pulled that trigger, it goes bang. The only time I had issues with that gun was in the first like 300 or 500 rounds, is when I had only had a few minor issues, and I found out that the main issues that I was having was because I was using a Kimber magazine. And the Kimber magazine just wasn't feeding properly. I had a couple issues with the Armscore magazine. I think it was like one issue with the Armscore magazine, but it wasn't even like a bad issue. It's just like one quick little hiccup. When I switched over to the Wilson Combat magazines, I have not had a single malfunction with my 1911, and I've put thousands and thousands of rounds. I don't know how many, maybe easily over a couple thousand rounds. I don't know how many thousands of rounds I put through it. I have not had a single issue with that Rock Island Armory 1911. That comes down to a couple things. One, I clean it on a daily basis, all right? I know how to maintain it. I don't treat it like a Glock. I don't treat it like a Smith & Wesson M&P. I don't treat it like like a striker fired pistol. I treat it like a 1911. It requires more tender love and cares. It requires more maintenance. It requires more lubrications. You have to clean it more often than you have to clean an older firearm. So what we call it, it's called preventative maintenance. Okay, when I went to the refrigeration school, when I got my degree in mechanical maintenance engineering, that was with HVAC and stuff like that. We had this saying, it was called preventative maintenance. If you take care of your air conditioner, it will work. If you change out your filter, then it won't freeze up on you very much. If you take care of it, it'll do it. Well, the same thing goes to firearms. It is a mechanical device. If you don't take care of it, it won't work. If you don't feed good ammunition, it may not work. If you don't use good magazines, it may not work. But if you use the right magazines, you lube it up properly, and you got to lube them up a lot when it comes to 1911. There's a lot more oil in those guns, and lube in those guns than you need to do with modern day, with Striker Virus guns. If you take care of a 1911, that thing will work and it will last and it will hold its value for a very long time. Whereas like a Glock or something like that, yes, can you put hundreds of thousands of rounds in it and not have issues? Maybe not. But I've also seen them seize up because they weren't maintained, because someone figured, after all, it's just a Glock, so I don't need to take care of it, right? So it doesn't matter what the firearm is. Bug climbing on me. It doesn't matter what the firearm is, you have to take care of it. And when it comes to 1911, that you have to maintain it on a daily basis. So, after every 500 rounds, if I fired 500 rounds through it, I may not clean it right off the bat. When I get back from the range, I automatically clean it. But if I'm in a big class, I'm going to be doing anything other than, how's it going, Mike? Anything other than 500 rounds. I'm going to stop after that 500 rounds, or when we get a break or a lunch break or something like that. And I'm going to lube it because it's going to need it. It's just like an AR-15. An AR-15 overseas, you need to lube the bolt carrier group nonstop. You just have to. It's just something you have to do. We would get yelled at like multiple times throughout the day because we didn't lube it in the morning. We didn't lube it before we went on patrol. We didn't lube it and clean it after we went on patrol, even if we didn't shoot any rounds through it. So you have to maintain those firearms. AR-15, 1911s, you've got to maintain them. So that's where it stands for that. So when it comes down to the topic that people bring up is, well, what's the difference between a high value 1911 and an affordable one? Well, if you get the right affordable one, like just like a Rock Island Armory, or even like the like a loaded Springfield Armory 1911, there it's a little bit pricier than a Rock, but they are put together very well. They're made very well. The only difference between one of those and the higher end one is the higher end ones usually has one person that works on it, and the fits are usually nicer and stuff like that. And that's pretty much the difference. It looks prettier, it's nicer, it's got a fancy name to it and stuff like that. At the end of the day, if you have a good, affordable one, like I said, and well, a lot of people say, "Oh, Rock Islands are cheap." No, $700 isn't cheap. I don't know where you come from, but when I come from, the $700 isn't cheap. If you have a good affordable 1911, all right, like even a low value, the low value, I won't say low value. If you have a less expensive, is the best way to say it, 1911. That doesn't mean it's not going to work. It doesn't mean that at all. It just doesn't mean that the fit and finish just isn't going to be as pretty and nice, and the finishes and the curves and stuff isn't going to be as nice as the high end one. That's all that really means. You have to maintain it. It's your responsibility to maintain your firearm. If you think there's a smith issue or there's an issue that requires a smith, you bring it to a smith, right? Like me, I've never had an issue. I've had to bring it out to someone. I maintain it my own. After about technically with a 1911, with 1911 in general, after about 5,000 rounds, you should be changing out the guide rod in the spring, the springs. You should be changing that out. Now, I use a standard GI guide rod because that's just what I prefer. You can use a full length guide rod. Still, after about 5,000 rounds, you should probably still choose, be changing it out just to maintain it. All right. But anyway, guys, so this video's been going on for a little bit. So we're at 32 minutes and 13 seconds. So I think I covered all those questions of that. So we'll have a couple more minutes. And then if you have any questions, go throw them. Had a light come off down here, or someone turned the light off. I think it's my wife she's got a greenhouse down here and it's on a timer, so that's what just turned off. So we're gonna be finishing this up here. What's your preferred left-hand technique on the 1911 for a right-handed shooter? When it comes to a left-handed technique, mine is ambidextrous. My safeties are ambidextrous. I always ride my thumb on the safety. So if I'm right-handed, I ride my thumb on the safety. If I'm left-handed, I ride my thumb on the safety. Now, the only difference from left-handed, if I need to change the mag, I'm using my finger or my middle finger, whichever one's more comfortable at the time. I'll use that to change it. And I do the mag flip because it helps us a little bit, not like a crazy tactical mag flip, just because it helps. And when I usually shoot one-handed, this is one thing that a lot of people disagree on, is I don't hold it straight up. I cant it slightly, all right, the way how I cant it. I'm actually really accurate left-handed, one-handed. I'm right-handed. Basically, is what that does is if you point your hand out, if you just point at someone, if you're pointing something, what is the angle of your hand? So what is the angle of your hand? So, thank you, Henry. Hold on, I'll get to your question. Quad expert with 1911 was in Navy. Good to go, Henry. So when you point your hand out like this, all right, what happens is that's the natural angle of it. This is not natural for pointing. So if you point the gun up like this, you're fighting the natural point of your aim. You have to actually adjust it. For me, adjust it like this. It helps recoil. The only difference is because of the angle of it, I aim a little bit low into, if I'm doing it right-handed, I aim a little bit low into the right because I know it's going to lift it a little bit. I do the same thing when I'm doing it like this. If I need to aim center mass, I'm going to aim a little bit below it and a little bit to the left. All right, that's how I'm going to do it. So that is my one-handed technique with a 1911. I always ride my thumb on the safety. That is the best way to use a 1911, so you don't accidentally knock that safety off for any reasons. Um, and that's basically it. I don't know what other techniques you want. That's just how I do it. I mean, if I need to switch, I do the switch, and I usually keep one hand up. All right, when I shoot one-handed, I always keep one hand up. One, I'm simulating an injury, and two, I don't want this anywhere near the muzzle, so I want it out of the way. So I'm going to have this up here, and I use it out there like that. Yes, still shot 1911 in the 1990s. Hey, 1911 is a good way to go, Cruz. When I was in the Marine Corps, I got out of the Marine Corps in 2006. I was in the National Guard after that, but I got out of the Marine Corps in 2006. And at my time, as I was a young guy, and it was basically speaking, is for us it was a 9mm is a Beretta, and all the, that's what everyone else uses, and the special operations guys use 1911s, because at the time we had Force Recon, MARSOC hadn't showed up yet, Raiders hadn't been there yet. So every time we worked with a recon or the sniper teams or something like that, they all carried 1911s. We worked with back to back with the ODA team a lot during my second tour in Iraq. Most of them carried 1911s. I mean, that's what was on their hip. So for me, I've always been a big fan of 1911. It's a great gun. If you know how to take care of it, it's a very accurate gun. It's a very good gun to shoot. All right. So, okay, so I'll take at least one more question in here. All right. I'll take about one more question. I'm going to wrap it up because my camera's starting to get choppy. My lights are turning off and it's getting really hot down here. It's my favorite gun. I have, hey, nothing wrong with that, man. So M&Ps make a good gun too. And if you look at M&P, especially the full size, it's very similar angles and feel to a 1911. All right. It really is. All right. So I'll ask one more question if it's out there. All right. So go ahead and answer that and then we're going to call it a day. Let's see. I'll give you a few more seconds. Let's see. Absolutely, Henry. Absolutely, man. So it's. I'm a huge 1911 fan. I like my Berettas. I like my 1911s. I have a lot of experience with it. Hey, thank you, man. Thank you, Gregory. Gregory, I appreciate the support. So all the guys give me super chats. You guys are awesome. You guys are really awesome out there. So, all right. So do we have any more questions? Because I'm going to start cutting the video off here soon and call it a night because we're getting close to 40 minutes. Can you do a press check from John Wick? Yes, I can do a press check from John Wick, except I don't throw the gun up in the air. As a matter of fact, usually when I do a press check, that's how I do a press check, especially with a double action pistol. All right, a double action pistol. Like my Beretta. All right, so I would love to pull it out in the video, but there is a thing back that if you pull out guns on live videos that you could actually get a strike on your channel, so I'm not going to do that right now. But when you come to a double action pistol, even 1911s with a hammer down, there's a lot more pressure to get that slide back, but once it breaks that initial pressure, there's this massive jump where it jumps out, and I've seen too many people try double action, do a simple press check from the top, and they lose their, oh man, I lost my round. Is what I do when it comes to double action or hammer fired pistol. With a 1911, first thing I do is cock the hammer. With Beretta, I don't necessarily do that, but you can do that. It helps too. But the first thing I do is cock that hammer. You keep your finger off the trigger, and then I grab the grip, the grip like this. I hold the top of the sights. I just pull it back a little bit. And I look like that. Now it gives a couple things. I can actually reach down with my finger and actually touch to see if there's around there. So it happens at night. You can actually feel when there's around there. But I'm not going to do the whole John Wick, throw it up in the air, twist it, and do it and throw it down. That's just a waste of time. All right. I do a press check when I put a gun on my hip in the morning, and that's about it. I carry my guns loaded. They're in my safe and they're loaded. I have one that's actually locked up in a little hand safe upstairs, my M17. That one's loaded too. But when I'm about to carry a gun, I'm a very strong believer in your battery of arms. You got to make sure that damn thing's loaded. So the second I'm getting ready to put that gun on, I want to make sure hands down that it's loaded. Even if I know it's loaded, out of habit, I do a quick press check and I make sure we are good to go. All right, there we are, guys. So we're ending this video for the night. So the updates for channel, like I said, if you guys are just coming in now, is basically what I'm going to start doing is you're going to see maybe probably about 3 videos a week now. And at the end of every week, I'm going to do like this type of thing, like a live video where I'm going to actually pull out at least 5 questions or topics that were covered during that week. And I'm going to answer them here on the camera for you guys. And then after that, I'm going to be right here. On the safety, obviously, you have to put the safety down, Steve, when it comes to 1911. You have to when it comes to 1911, otherwise the slide won't move. That's just the way how it's designed. So if you get used to using that, you pull it back, you put the safety right back on, it's no big deal. When it comes to like my Beretta, my 92X is primarily what I carry most of the time, is the way how the safety works on the Beretta is when you do the press check, even if the hammer stays back, I just put the decocker down and put the safety back up so it's back on fire. All right, so I'm calling it a night, guys. So thanks for being with me. Look for a video again, probably on Wednesday. I'll release an actual video, and then Friday I'll do another one of these live videos, kind of a question and answer type of deal. So anyway, guys, thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for all the super chats out there. You guys are awesome. Now remember, guys, it's our responsibility to take care of each other and protect each other. Peace.